Hey there, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Gay as in
Gay and
Stupid.
stupid.
We're your hosts, Isaac,
And Aaron.
and we're both really fucking gay
Hell
and really fucking stupid.
yeah.
um, Anyways, so this month we're doing a more laid back episode where we're just going to answer a couple questions that were sent our way relating to like being LGBT because it's the holidays and we had to do like family stuff and I was in good old college finals, which if anyone's curious, I got all A's this semester. So
Hell yeah.
thank
Legend.
you. So yeah, that's just really what we're going to be doing this episode.
Yeehaw.
Okay, so the first question is one we got that an anonymous person asked. Okay, as someone who is trans and hasn't dated anyone, what is it like dating as a trans man? Do you ever have a crush on someone and think, I wonder if they like trans people like I do?
I mean, like, all the time.
Yeah, that's a big fat mood.
Yeah.
I
mean,
I
like,
know from my...
oh, sorry, you go.
No, you go first.
Oh, I was just going to say, like, I know for me personally, most of the time I like can't even like flirt with a guy unless I like know that he like sees me as a man, unless I have some kind of like confirmation from him. I mean, like he doesn't have to like say the words, but like in our interactions and stuff, like otherwise I just can't, like I just don't do it. So
Yeah, no.
that's a big thing.
Yeah, and I know it's definitely like it's hard because both ways, because sometimes you'll come across a trans person who like refuses to like date trans people, and it's
Yeah.
like such a weird phenomenon. It's like they just hold so much hate for their community that they don't want to interact like platonically sometimes and like romantically or sexually like with like another trans
Right.
person. And like that's always weird because like it feels weird that you have to be on guard even with like your own community.
Right. Or
But
they will interact with you, like they're open to dating you, but they still have those feelings, and so it like doesn't, things don't like come out very healthily because like they have all this like self-hate which they're kind of projecting onto you.
I can speak a bit more onto like having a crush on someone who's cis because like I'm currently dating a cis guy, and I've been involved with more cis men than trans men in my dating history because that's just who have found me attractive and who I found them attractive. And it's such a weird thing because like I was big on Tinder mostly because I loved empty validation. But I'd get a lot of people who would match with me and then they'd say like, "Oh my God, you're so handsome," but then they'd follow it up with like, "But I like my cock real." And it's like, I do have one. I have topped before. I do these things. But that was just a quick little flex for when my boyfriend hears this episode, just so he remembers.
Yeah. I've exclusively dated other trans guys, which I think can be like, for me, it wasn't like a purposeful thing. It was totally coincidental. That was just who because up until recently, I didn't have a lot of cis guy friends. So it was just who I met, who I connected with. But I do think it's useful, or I think it's nice to date other trans people when you don't have a lot of dating experience, but you're like out, because you have that connection and you don't have to like explain. So it makes things a little more comfortable. At least that's just been my experience. And also at the time when I was doing that, I was pre-T and everything, and I was dating guys that were like at various points in their transition. But sometimes it just feels more like like reassuring to date another trans person because like they get it. So that's just been my experience.
But I think a big part of being trans and dating is just like a lot of, it's hard. It's definitely harder for us to like find people to like are going to like view us 100% as the gender we are, especially in like sexual relationships, because I know like that's always a problem for me where I'm like with somebody and I'm like, oh, they probably view me as like not a
Yeah.
guy because of my naked form.
Yeah. It doesn't
Um,
always matter like how you're like I've had guys who were like attracted to me and who were flirting with me who thought I was hot, but that like probably weren't seeing me as a guy at the time, even though I was out. And like that wasn't like, that wasn't an issue for them, but like, it was why I wasn't like involved with them further, because I was like, oh well, I'm not presenting this way at the moment, and you're probably not like seeing me the way that I want to be seen, so I didn't want to like engage with that.
yeah. And we're throwing out quite a handful of negatives,
Yeah.
and
Sorry.
while it is a bit harder to date while trans, just because of how the world is around us, it's completely possible.
Oh,
Like that's
totally.
not something that like you can't do. Like you will find someone who will
Yeah.
respect you 100% and like who will fall in love with you completely and think you are the hottest person alive. Specifically for who's asking, they're gonna think you're like the handsomest dude alive, and they're gonna love you, and you're going to like be their husband one day, I'm sure. So
Yeehaw.
like it's something that happens. It's just that you're going to have to really just kind of like have your own methods of like self-validation for when
Yeah.
people who are just going to be openly transphobic towards you because of it in like a dating sense, to like keep in mind that like that's just them. Like I am a man. I am
Mm.
like worthy of love, like somebody is going to view my body as it is and for what I am. Like you just have to really make sure that like you have that system in place of like your own reassurance to like make sure that like you don't fall into like somewhere dark because of like
and
some
and get
stupid
yourself,
trans phones are
yeah,
saying.
and get yourself some like trans friends who can relate to what you're going through, because that's a really helpful thing to have when you're talking about that stuff, even if you're not like, you don't have to go like in depth with it if you don't feel like going there, but like it's nice to have that person who you can talk to and you can be like, oh my god, like this is happening and it's so irritating or it's so stressful, and they'll like understand what you're talking about. Also, what was I gonna say? Oh yeah, what you were saying, Isaac, also reminded me that we get really good at adapting to those kinds of like having to like work around all that stuff. Like we get good at it, and we form our own like systems for dating and stuff and our own ways of doing that. And like I know for me, like I have lots of moments where I'm like, I'm talking to one of my like cis guy friends about dating, and I realized that they're like talking to all these guys and they're doing all these things that like I could never do in those situations, because I don't have like socially the structures that are there aren't going to allow me to do those things, and it sucks. But most of the time, I don't like, most of the time, I'm so used to, dating the way that I date and, flirting with guys the way that like that happens for me, that like it feels like enough when I'm doing those things. Like it doesn't feel like in the moment like I'm missing out on something. I do want to say though, because like I know it's a little different coming from another trans person, but like as a lot of like the things that I hear from other trans guys that I talk to and that I know who have similar questions to this, and are worried about this, are mainly worried about like gay guys not being attracted to them. And like I'm gay, and like I said, like I've exclusively dated other trans guys. So it's really not like, if you obviously, like some people are just going to be dicks, but like if you get to know someone and they know you as a guy and they see you as a guy, then like those things, like those physical things aren't as much of an issue as your dysphoria can make you think they are. And they don't really affect how the other person is seeing you.
Yeah, and I'll even add to that as somebody I have been with more cis people, and like my current boyfriend is bi, but I have been with a large handful of cis gay men in the past. I say large handful, and that makes me sound like big boy thought, but no, I've been with a majority of cis gay men, and the people who are transphobic definitely stick with you more, but in my experience, there have been more people who like literally don't care. They're gonna be like, "You're a dude, you're hot, Bone Town." Um, or dating zone, whichever you're going for. But it's just transphobes make a lot more noise, so it feels a lot more like bleak when you're like looking at it kind of like nervously. But there are like gay cis men, gay trans men, if they're not transphobic or holding and projecting their own transphobia onto you, there's a lot of them out there who are going to view you as like the man you are or like the woman you are and like respect you like that and be in love with you.
Amen.
Yeah, well, I hope that helps and good luck to
We
everything you
believe in
do.
you.
Hell yeah. The next question comes from a friend of mine on Instagram who said, I live in a small town and am one of the only openly gay people here. Any tips for dealing and responding to that sweet, sweet small town homophobia? I'm so sorry that you have to deal with that, first of all, because it's definitely really obnoxious. I know for me, I don't live in like a small town per se, but I definitely face a lot of homophobia back here just because like it's a weird kind of place to be in. I would say honestly, like you have to first like assess the situation, like to make sure that like before you respond, like count on to like, are you safe? Like if you like start a fight, like are you gonna get beat down? Like I know that's one of the biggest things I would suggest because like advocating for yourself is like big and I think there's nothing wrong with making that decision depending on like your safety. Like if you feel safe and like you know like if it's just some dude at school who's like some stupid gamer boy who like smells like bo and plays magic at lunch and they say something to you, like go ahead, start a fight with them because they probably cannot take you. And sometimes like that self-advocation shows like that like, oh, people shouldn't like do this because then you're going to fight back. And it feels nice to stand up for yourself. But there's also like no shame in like assessing a situation or maybe you're just not feeling it today to just like literally walk away because your safety is important, your peace of mind is important, and like I spent all of my like high school years in a place where like I was one of the only like openly like gay and trans people of my grade and they're like a couple underclassmen, but I was definitely taking most of the heat for all the homophobia and transphobia in the senior year for some ungodly reason. It was so bad. And I spent a lot of that time picking arguments with people and by like my senior year, honestly, like I just didn't say anything to anything, like, or I just like make some sort of like snide comment, and that made them so angry. Like I remember specifically this one dude, like, went off on some weird like homophobic and like transphobic rant in class, and it was like directed at me because he was like literally like for no reason like went off on these
Oh
things,
my
especially like the trans
God.
thing, and I'm the only person in the grade. And someone came up to me afterwards and asked me if I was okay. And I looked at her and I just went, he's just angry I've dated more girls than him. It made him so angry. It still makes me lose it to this day because, like, what was he supposed to say to that? It was a
You're so
fact. He couldn't dispute
powerful.
it. It's definitely a hard place to be, but definitely not feeling bad if you decide like this is a day like or like a fight you just don't want to have, or if it's like a day you're really feeling that self-advocation, like go for it if you're safe. I never advocate for picking fights when you're in a situation like if you're with like your parents and they say something and like they could like kick you out or like actually harm you, like don't do that, please. I know it sucks unless you have like a backup plan of somewhere to go. um, and like on top of that, like having a support system, whether it be like your best friend or like a relative or like an online community that you can turn to and be like, hey, I dealt with this today, can I just like be distracted or can like I talk about it, like just being able to have a place you can go and be safe in your identity is really all you can do until you can get out
Yeah.
because being the only person is scary and you can't really do much without putting yourself in a lot of harm and limelight, and that just sucks, and you don't always want to deal with that, and it's not your job to end homophobia because you're just one gay kid. Like, do you like to say anything, Aaron? I know you're from like a bigger city, so
Well, yeah, I mean, I live in a pretty progressive city, so I don't have to deal with a lot of that. And when I have been in situations that have been extremely homophobic in kind of a dangerous way. I'm very instigative and I go the fuck off because I'm stupid and I think that I'm tougher than I am. So I don't want to give any advice on that because like Isaac's advice is just so much better and mine would probably be bad. But there is one thing that I want to say, and that is that I think because I do experience a lot of transphobia and I'm lucky enough that I have enough resources in the place that I live to balance that out. So if you don't have those resources physically, I'd say honestly, like anything you can find online, go for it. Like it's hard to find forums, but there are some forums that are okay. And there's spaces like on social media and stuff where you can connect with other people. And that can really, really help if you're in a space where you can't like physically be as comfortable as you want to be. And also, I love you
Retweet,
and I'm
retweet,
rooting for you.
retweet. The next question we have is, I'm a younger trans guy and I want to try packing, but IDK how?
Oh, that's a
Um,
yeah.
I personally hate packing so much. I just, it's extra work and it can be uncomfortable. And honestly, like, I don't know who's staring that intensely at my
People
cock.
don't notice. People literally don't notice. Like people don't notice when I pack or when I don't pack.
Yeah,
But if you do want to pack, then
go for it.
go for it. Yeah.
I know I have an actual like,
oh, you have an actual packer. Yeah.
yeah, I have an actual packer for like when I'm like, no, I'm gonna be out really long, like with my classes, because a lot of the bathrooms at my school are like single stall and someone's always taking a fat shit. And like I don't want to have to walk across the building and miss more class times. So, like if I know it's gonna be like one of those days and I'm in one of those buildings, like the theater building, I'll like wear my packer because mine is a stand while peeing. Also, don't tell God, but it's for sex.
Oh, I know the one you have. I saw a review of the one you have.
Yeah, I can piss, I can pack, and I can slap those cheeks. Yeah, packing definitely takes some getting used to. I know some people who like can't go out without packing, but like I know in my experience it's just been more work than it's work. Also, I really like crossing my legs when I sit because I'm a homosexual, and packing makes it really sticky down there. And sometimes, since I use one that's for peeing as well, it will suction cup to my leg sometimes in my pants, and it's so bad. I got a new harness, it's a lot, but I recommend when you're starting to try it out, putting socks.
I use socks.
Just like rolling a pair of socks into like a ball and slapping it down there. So there's something there if it makes you feel better. That's where I started. I did that for 3 years.
There are a lot of like videos about packing, which I watched because I like don't know how to do shit. And it was really frustrating. And I would watch the videos and then I would try to do what they were doing. And it was like never right. So honestly, like my recommendation would to be to get just a photo reference of a cis dude and like I mean from online, not someone you know, and then like just stare at their thoughts and then you know try and just move it around and adjust it until it looks kind of similar, because that's what I do when I pack, which I can kind of do now. I didn't used to be able to because of bottom dysphoria, but now that's a little bit better. So I do it sometimes with like certain pairs of pants because it makes me feel good. But yeah, that's what I would advise you to do if you're using socks, because they're like difficult.
Yeah, I definitely say try to start with socks just to kind of see like if you like how like having something down there feels, because like packers can be really expensive. And cheaper ones you're just going to have to replace really fast because they get really gross. No matter how much you wash them, like just fuzz sticks to them and then they smell weird. If you end up liking that, then I'd recommend like you do some research, like read a bunch of reviews, look at different types, and really just kind of like if you're going to like get an actual packer, I'd say invest in it. From experience, I would highly suggest get one that's like for packing and peeing, and then separately get one if you're trying to have sex, because it's just so difficult. It's just so hard. Just get one that's meant for purely sex. It's so much easier.
There's a lot of reviews too. Like if you look on YouTube and stuff, there's a lot of reviews. And I know because I've gone on like I go on these like spirals like late at night, and I'm just watching video after video, and I'm like, if I get this, it will make me so uncomfortable. I will never wear this because that's not like, my dysphoria will not allow me to, but I just want one so bad, and I just go on these spirals, and there's tons of them. There's tons of them for all different types of products. So you will be totally set if you want to do some research on that.
Yeah, but yeah, try out the sock, do some research, and then you just got to save up money to dish out for one that you're not going to have to replace in a couple months, because you don't want it smelling bad, because everybody around you somehow knows. And even if they don't, you'll think they know. And then it's scary, especially if you decide to medically transition via testosterone. Things start smelling, and then you're paranoid all the time, and you're having a meltdown every time you're in public. That's a little TMI.
Honestly, the TMI is good because we're never allowed to talk about the TMI stuff. And like, someone has to, you know, like, they want this information. They have to know.
Yeah. Things smell different, and it's not just your armpits. And that's my TMI for the day.
Yeah. And it can be a little bit weird at first. So like, you just have to like, especially if you like, especially if you get a lot of like yeast infections and stuff. So when there are like changes happening, I'm like, oh no. But it's not actually like, oh no, it's okay. It's normal. It's supposed to be that way. So, and your doctor won't tell you that, because doctors suck and don't give you like those bits of information because they seem inconsequential, but then they're not. So yeah, but also, if you are packing with socks, I just want to say, don't get like, because it can be kind of frustrating, and sometimes it takes a few tries. So get into like the right mindset before you do it, and like focus on like, you know, doing it kind of methodically and calmly, because otherwise like it can just put you in a bad space.
Yes, good advice. Another thing before we switch to the next question, the socks I liked packing with most, if you know, like those Vans socks that are no-shows, if you just like slip the 2 or like 3 into each other, they like kind of stay like that. And then like you can like kind of like, they're just easy to maneuver. And I like the results personally, because I wore skinny jeans all the time. So it wasn't like a crazy bulge in my skinny jeans, but it was still enough to like give the like illusion to like mostly myself that like there's a little something back there, and I didn't have giant balls or a constant hard on. So no-show socks will be your friend in this, because then you don't have all that extra that you have to try and like finagle, and then like it's uncomfortable. So yeah. Anyways, good luck with packing. Hope everything works out for you and you find a way that works. The next question is, how do you flirt with girls, spelled GORLS, in gay?
You're so valid.
First thing first, don't tell the girl no homo. Just delete that from your vocabulary when you're talking to her. Don't say it, because then you're setting yourself up. Like, just don't do it. Trust me. Just don't say no homo when you're really homo.
Like subtle equivalents of, I mean, like, I don't know how this, like, I don't know what the woo-la-woo equivalent of this is for girls, but if I'm talking to a guy and I'm gay for him and I'm like flirting with him and I don't know if he likes me, I'm always like, bro, like, don't do that, because you just like, you mess things up for yourself, especially because like gays are super like oblivious a lot of the time. And so if you say something like that, they're not going to realize, and then they're going to talk to their friends about it later, and their friends are going to be like, dude, oh my God, that's like a gay interaction. And they're going to be like, what? Are you sure? So yeah.
Yeah. The moral of that story is gay people are stupid. So like, try not to be too friendly. Like, being friendly is fine, but please, I'm begging you. It's so hard. How do the people like dudes I flirted with were both clues, or both being like, hey bro, like, I'm sorry. It's like, don't tell them they look really like good today and then end it with like a bro or a no homo. Like, don't shoot yourself in the foot, home dog. Like, just don't do that.
It's difficult from the other perspective too, because like almost all the guys I've been into do that, and I just never know. It's like
yeah, and then it's like a 50-50 chance. Like, I remember a guy like that, who I was into a lot 2 or 3 years ago. I think I was maybe 15 or 16. So that's like 3-4 years ago, actually. I just can't do math because I'm gay. he would act like that towards me, and like it's like I didn't know he like liked me back. And then one day he like messaged me out of the blue. He's like, "Hey, I just like you so much, and like I can't deal with like us being like so friendly. Like it's just like really hard for me. So like I can't talk to you anymore." And then he
Aw.
didn't let me respond. He just blocked me.
What? He like
He
ghosted
blocked me,
you?
so I couldn't text him back. And I was trying to be like,
Holy
yeah, I was trying to be like,
shit!
"Hey, I've had a crush on you the whole time." Like literally.
Holy
Yeah, I was like, we texted
shit!
every day. We called like every day. He once
Oh
called me while he was in
my
the
fucking
bath, and
god.
like we made like,
That's
and like it was
gay.
like a very like suggestive conversation, but like not like, oh, we were sexting, but I was like, ooh, hoo, hoo, I'm gonna hop right in there,
Yeah.
splash, because
Oh my god! That's like peak gay dumbassery. What
I know.
the
And then like a week
fuck?
later, he sent me that message, and I was like, I had no idea you even liked me because you'd only call me bro, or like he would blog my selfies and be like, ooh, look at this boy, he looks like a total snack. No homo though, haha. And it's like, no, just say it like, ooh, you look good, boy. Like it would at least made it clear. But like, oh my god, that's like one of my worst stories
Yeah.
about like flirting with a guy. Like it was so
God,
bad.
that's so funny. Okay, so that's like number one. That's number one things. How do you actually, I guess we should give some tips for actually like doing the flirting because that's more of a like don't do. Isaac probably has better input on this than I do because I mean like the other night I was like how do I hit on guys? So I don't so Isaac, what do you
Okay,
think?
so sorry, I'm thinking about my boyfriend because we're coming up on our year anniversary, and today, actually, a year ago, we first messaged on Tinder. I'm pretty sure. So like, it's different because if it is like a dating app or it's somebody like you meet at like in a class
Mm.
or something, my advice would that be is like just be straightforward. Like you don't have to. There's like this misconception where like you should be like friends for a certain amount of time before you start dating, and I don't necessarily think that's true for every case. Like it's fine if that's how you like to date, but like that doesn't have to be like how everybody goes. So like if you like meet someone and you're like, "Oh, I'm attracted to you. Like you're hot. You're a sexy woman and I'm gay and I want to date you." Honestly, like you just kind of got to be like, "Hey, you're really pretty. Would you like to get coffee?" Which is really scary. Or like, "Hey, you want to exchange numbers? I'd love to get to know you more." So like being direct
I like that.
is like kind of like one of the biggest things I can say. And this goes for like online or like meeting in person, like right off the bat. But
Yeah.
if you're like friends and like you both like have been friends for a while and you're like, "Oh, I really like my friend," and like you have a crush on like a good friend of yours, doing stuff like to indicate that like you're interested is good, kind of to test the waters, because I know something that's scary is like jumping in or like
Yeah.
you saying something and then your friend being like, "Oh, well," and freaking them out. So like,
If you're able to like if it's someone that you know in person because I know a lot of us gays will do like online stuff but and it is a friend you can use like body language is like I know people say that a lot and it can be really tricky like you know, you're just looking up online. You're like, what do I do to show this person I like them? But no, but you can like hold hands and stuff, which like can be a platonic thing, but can also be like a romantic thing. And if you're into them and they're into you, and you're like holding hands casually, it can be a good like gateway flirting.
yeah,
And also just like it's nice to like compliment the person that you like on things that they are proud of or things that they like about themselves. So like I don't know, I know a lot of theater kids. So if you so my thing would be like, you know, I like someone so I go see their show. I mean, which I would do for a friend anyway, but you know, so I go see their show and like you know, like I compliment them on it and stuff. And like that kind of opens up the like a nice path for you to like flirt with them in a way that is relevant to their interests and to the things that they like about themselves and that they're proud of. So that would be my like advice, I guess. But I'm a total nerd, so
yeah, no, I would suggest that kind of stuff too. Like really be like in tune with like kind of the stuff they like. So like go that extra mile and be like, "Oh, I saw this and thought of you," or like, "Hey, I like
mm-hmm.
just really like be able to like open up those conversations and be like show that like
Mm-hmm.
you are really listening to them and that like they're really important to you, like being like, "Hey, I remember saying like you were nervous about a test today. Just wanted to say good luck," or something like that. And that goes for your friends too. You should be treating your friends like that
Yeah.
as well. But like if you are like,
Yeah, you should. But there's like a vibe
yeah,
also that when you like someone, it's like similar stuff, but
yeah,
there's a different vibe.
yeah.
Also, send them gay songs. That works for me usually.
Mhm.
Just send them some gay music that is like, that they might like, but is also gay.
Yeah.
And be like, oh, yeah, I was listening to this and like thinking of you.
And if it is somebody like, this is a lot of kind of like via text stuff for suggesting, but like in
Mm.
person, some like more physical stuff you can do. I know like doing the thing or like lingering touches, like you could like be like, oh, I just
Yeah.
want, you look so cute today, and like you can like touch her shoulder or
Mm.
like put her hair behind her ear and be like, oh, you look so pretty or something, and like make that eye contact. I know this is something that has happened to me a lot when I my summer of being big boy thought,
Oh my God.
to indicate
Mm.
if like I was about to make out with some dude at Pride. Like I did that summer. It was like a very like eye contact thing and then looking up and down. So like don't like be
Oh,
weird. Don't like stare at this cute girl's ass. But like if she like sees you, like maybe like
kind of like,
visibly like look her up and down real quick and like
yeah, you kind of
smile,
like check
or
it
like
out.
look her up and down and then approach her, like just kind of stuff that like make your
Mhm.
intentions clear. Honestly, like you gotta, because God, our gay's so stupid. And no offense, but every lesbian I know is even worse. Y'all need to just make the move. I wish you good luck with every girl you want to date, though.
Yes.
Flirting is
We
so
need
hard,
it.
but I
Tell us,
believe
tell
in
us if
you.
it works. Tell us if
Yeah.
the advice is working.
Yeah, please follow up and let me know if you were able to score a GF or a little smoochie, because that's all I want is for every woman who loves women to have a beautiful girlfriend, because that's the only thing that will save this planet.
Amen.
So the last question we were sent in for this episode was, I spent a lot of my childhood not feeling right in my body, then most of my early teens believing that I'm trans. I've gone back to presenting and identifying as my assigned gender, but I still sometimes feel off and unlike what I was born as. Do you have any tips on affirming your own gender?
I mean, like, yeah, so I don't have a personal context for this experience, so this might be a little bit off. I would say, like, a big thing for me with how I was presenting and stuff, if this is about like a gender presentation thing, like how you're like dressing and stuff and the vibes you're giving off. A big thing for me, because I had a hard time doing that, was to separate myself from what I thought other people were going to think about me. Because for a long time after I came out, I still dressed as a girl because I thought that if I wore the clothes that like, thought that if I dressed as a guy but I wasn't on T yet, that I would be ugly, and I didn't want that. I was also having some other like body issues. So then once I started to separate myself from that, I kind of started figuring out what I actually liked and what my style was, and that was really freeing. And the way that I did that was basically just trying as many new things as possible. Like I had some fucking like cargo shorts, and I would wear my like cargo shorts and my like oversized t-shirts and stuff, and I felt great. I was like, oh my God. And I had my binder and I was like, holy shit, I'm a real boy. And so I would say like, and I tried some other stuff. So I would say try, if you're unsatisfied with like, how you look right now, I would say try just doing things outside the box. You don't need to buy a bunch of new clothes, but maybe you could go to different stores and just try on things and then not buy it and just exploit them like that. And see what makes you feel good. Like see what you like when you look in the mirror. Yeah, so that would be like one of my major pieces of advice for that. What do you think, Isaac?
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I know when I was first coming out back in middle school, I went through like being like, I'm trans, to like, no, I'm a cis girl, and then going to like, no, I'm non-binary, and then going back to trans and
Mm-hmm.
back to non-binary, then back to cis girl, because like I like with the internalized stuff I was feeling and like not liking my body, like even outside of like gender dysphoria and euphoria and stuff, and having those different like image problems,
Yeah.
and then like what people expected of me and like worrying about how people would view me. The journey was like super jumbled, but like that's okay because it's your journey, and like you get to do things in your own time and however you want to do it. So like maybe you aren't trans, and that's okay. You don't have to be, but you're still allowed to take that journey and that time to figure out what makes you most comfortable, because
Yeah.
this journey is just about you and yourself and your identity. So
Yeah.
like, don't feel bad about trying new things. Like, you can ask some of your close friends, like, hey, do you want to try calling me like they for a little bit? I want to see how that feels, because I've been feeling a little bit
Right.
out of place, and your good friends should love and respect you enough to try
Right.
that out.
Yeah, that definitely, like,
Mm.
I went through a couple different stages of gender in my thing. Also, you don't have to, like, if you thought that you were trans and you were, like, dressing a certain way or doing certain things because of that, and then you were like, no, I'm not, you don't have to stop doing those things. Like, you can still, dress like more like feminine or masculine than people like think that you should dress based on your assigned gender. And you can still do those things, and you can, like, I mean, you can live however you want, is what I mean. Like, you don't have to be like, oh, like, I'm this gender, so I have to do everything that society says that this gender should do. Like, you can play around with it. You can pick and choose whatever you want to pick and choose, basically.
Yeah. And a way to like simplify, almost oversimplify what Aaron's saying is like, you just have to kind of teach yourself to separate gender identity and gender expression,
Yes.
because like society has like such strict rules on that. So like, no matter if you're cis or trans or non-binary or something, like, you still are being forced those things on you, but like, people want to see you. And so like, if you're allowed to make those rules for yourself, so you just have to kind of like throw caution to the wind and follow what like you think would be comfortable. And maybe
Yes.
it's
And
wearing a skirt, maybe it's like cutting your hair short, but that doesn't have to affect your gender identity. That's just how you're comfortable, and you want to
right.
express your personality, the things you like, your interests. So like, you just have to kind of like grab it by the balls and fuck what everyone else says.
Yeah, exactly. And I can promise you that, like, because it can feel very isolating when you're playing around with that kind of stuff and when you're trying to figure out how you feel comfortable. And it can feel very isolating. But I promise you that there will always be someone who feels the same way about it that you do, and who likes to, dress the way that you do, or who likes people to call them the same things that you want people to call you. And there will always be someone like that out there, and you might not be able to find them right now, but they do exist, and you're not alone.
Yeah, exactly what Aaron said. It's comforting to know that somewhere out there, there's somebody who understands, even if you can't connect with them, but just like know that like, it's not like you are the only person in the world and you are damned because of it. You're experiencing something that's not uncommon, even if it
Yeah.
feels like it. But I wish you luck in your journey of expression and identity, because I know how tricky and scary that can be.
Kin.
Yes. Hope this helped even a little bit in some way. So that was our final question. So to wrap up, Aaron and I were just kind of like give some general advice for something we know that have been like, just like in our experience, been like asked of like us or other LGBT people, which is like, how do you like self-validate like you're being gay or you're being trans, and just real quick gonna speak on like what works for us and like what we've done to like be valid. Not that we're not valid by God's will, because we know she cares about the gays more than anyone.
Oh, I'm not valid. I'm Satan's little twink. Satan is my sugar daddy.
Hey guys, the Gay and Stupid podcast is canceled now because of the shit Aaron just said. So, see ya in hell, gamers.
Yeah, some stuff that I do is I really do try to find the people that experience things the same way that I do with regards to like my gender presentation and my gender itself, because that's not necessarily going to be someone in my life. Like, even like I talk about a lot of this stuff with Isaac, and a lot of the things that we talk about we're like, kind of on the same level with, but there's also a lot of stuff that we do differently because we're different people with different personalities. So I try to find people to just talk about this stuff with, like people that are in a similar position. Or I try and find, there's a lot of artists that I love that can articulate what being trans feels like better than I can. And I find that stuff, and I think about people who I kind of aspire to be like, who are doing the things that I want to do when I'm doubting myself on those things. Yeah, I bought a pair of pants the other week. I was feeling really crappy about it because of what they were. And then I was thinking, well, what would like I was like, what would Freddie Mercury do in this situation? And I knew what he would do. So I did as Freddie Mercury would have done. And that made me feel better about it. And that made me feel more comfortable about it, especially stuff like that, since I'm a gay man and I can be kind of like flamboyant. And the trans part of me is like, no, don't do that. People are going to judge you. People aren't going to believe you. You spent so long trying to make people believe that you are what you are. And now you've done this and they're not going to believe you. So finding cis gay men that do the same things that I do can be kind of like, it's like pulling up receipts on someone you don't like, you know, but like in a positive way. You're like, see? You're like, look, they're doing it. I can do it, you know?
Re-fucking tweet. Yeah, I definitely second everything Aaron said, because like that is like one of the biggest things you can really do in like terms of self-validation, is like looking for those people you can like relate to and look up to, and kind of like have that sense of like connection with them, whether it be like close friends or like good old fashioned gay icons. I know something I like to do I know that I know, as much as I do enjoy like talking with other people to like and like looking it through other people, I also like to take time with like just myself to kind of like think about like how I'm viewing my body, and then like kind of trying to like take a step back and view myself more objectively and be like, sometimes I'll be like, oh, I'm like this, but then like I'll like be like, okay, well right now I'm gonna like sit down and I could like write a poem about it. I could just like be sitting and thinking about it, or like doing whatever like you like to do. So like I prefer like writing it down, because that's who I am, but like kind of just like work through things. And I know like I spoke to this on our gay trans experience episode, but like that's what helped me work through a lot of like my guilt with being like a trans man and also being gay. Just like I like being able to set time aside to like work through these things and like kind of like put names to it and be able to like describe those feelings, because like once I can like break it down, I can kind of like rationalize it better, rather than just sitting there like alone at night being like, oh my god, I'm just some yaoi fangirl who went too far. But if I can sit down and be like, no, I'm just a dude who likes fucking dudes. Yeah. Yeah, I just like taking time for myself to be able to figure
Yeah.
out how to somehow rationalize. And that can be a week's process, that could be a month's process. It's honestly a lifetime process,
Yeah.
but like I try to make time to do those things. And that's helped me a lot, I
I
know.
think that's really valuable, and it's a really important um, piece of advice if you're having trouble doing that. To add on to that, I would say it kind of reminded me, you find like it's good to find stuff like if you have like what Isaac was saying, like the stuff that you like to do, like if you have always loved books and you read a lot, or if you process your shit through like dance or whatever you do, to find something that you can do. Like, as you know, as a trans person, like I've always read a lot and written a lot, and so I have one of my biggest like moments for me was when I got Laura Jane Grace's autobiography last August, and I read it. And the way that she talked about being trans and the way that she showed what it felt like to experience all the things that she was experiencing in her writing really connected with me. And I was like, oh my God, like this is what like these parts of my life have been like. And I hadn't been able to connect with that part of myself before because I didn't have the language to talk about it. So reading that book gave me the language to do that, and writing about it gave me the language to do that. So if you have something like that, then, you know, figure out how you can like use that to express those parts of yourself, because that can be really healing. Also just I think doing physical activities can be good because we become so trapped inside our bodies. So it can be something like you just want to like put on your favorite album and just dance for a while without anyone else watching you, or if you like to work out, that can be helpful. And or even just something like that isn't like, or something like just making something with your hands, you know, like painting or baking or something like that can be really helpful.
Yeah. Yeah. Even if it seems like it doesn't relate to like you trying to express like your sexuality or gender, you can make it relate. If you like men and you are a baker, bake yourself a
Or
cock
just like,
cake.
yeah, sorry. I was thinking about, as soon as you said
Make
that, I thought about the guy on Nailed It who like had the little like rainbow at the top of his like little penguin Ski Mountain creation.
Yes.
He was like, the gays have taken over the Penguin Ski Mountain creation. And every time I watch that show, I'm like, if I was on that show, how would I like find a way to like weave my sexuality on the TV?
Yeah. I mean, he wore those pants, so like he's really braver than any of us. I love that man. But yeah, just you don't, because words aren't for everyone, but like just kind of like just learn to own your identities. Yeah. That was the end of my sentence and thought.
No, I totally agree with that. It can also help to just in your everyday life find a moment, like if you have a moment where you feel comfortable, then make sure that you put effort into remembering that moment. Like for me, that was, I never felt comfortable in my own skin, and I never felt comfortable in any of the places where I was learning, where I was socializing, and just like around anyone really. Like I had fun and stuff, and like, you know, I functioned in society, but I never felt safe to just be who I was in a real space. And then I got to meet up with all of my friends and with Isaac, and we saw a show, and I felt so good. And I was like, why do I feel so good? Like, why do I feel so like myself? And I've never felt this way before. And I was like, oh my God, like, what? So after that happened, I was like, I want to be this person all the time because this is the best version of myself. And I held on to that memory, and whenever I was in like a new situation, I was meeting new people, I was like, that's the person that I'm going to be. And projecting that outward image of myself and constructing that for myself outwardly helped me, you know, get back to that person I was in that moment internally as well. And it made it like,
I love you,
Erin.
love
you.
Wow. Bromantic.
Bro.
Well, we hope that our advice was able to offer some sort of comfort or help somebody in any of these situations out, because we definitely understand how hard it can be, especially around the holidays when you're forced to be with your family and stuff like that.
I kin everything Isaac said. No doubles. Yeah, and also if you have questions like this and you like just need to ask someone, you can always send in this stuff to like the podcast blog or whatever, and we'll just answer it on there, because we have some useful experience between the two of us. So yeah, and I hope that everyone who sent in their questions got something out of this, and I hope that you all are doing okay.
It is the last episode of 2018. Woo! And so let's just every single person listening to this, just know that we're gonna fucking take 2019 by the balls. And it's gonna be ours. But no, 2019 is ours, baby. We're going to make that our year. It's going to be great for all you guys. Just know it's going to be a year of self-love and validation.
And making out with boys.
Or girls.
Yeah.
Yeah, and anyways, it's going to be awesome. Make sure to check out our Tumblr post for this month. We'll have some links for some like further readings or like videos and resources you can kind of check out. And then we'll also have our monthly recommendations for LGBT media, as we usually do. You can also follow us on Twitter. Our username is gayasinstupid. Also, another big thank you to my boyfriend for making us that intro and outro song. I love you, babe. Mwah.
Got him to do this with us, because like the other night I was like, he was like telling me how to flirt with boys because I didn't know how, and we should have had him do this with us so he could like give everyone advice.
Okay, literally he's stupid. I'm the one dating him, so I know how he flirts.
Well, at least he does something. That's more than like anyone can say for me.
You shouldn't take his advice though, Aaron, because literally he'll be like, I need to pee, and I'll be like, okay. And then he'll just pretend he's pissing on me while we're like cuddling on the couch before he gets up to go to the bathroom. So like literally he's the most disgusting man alive, and he has no game. I'm just easy.
I can't believe you guys both have piss kinks.
Okay, inflation kink.
Shut up! That's not true! That's not true! That's slander!
Anyways, see you guys next year with another episode of Gay as in Stupid. See ya!
See ya!